Hello?
Hi, Allison.
Hello.
Can you hear us, Allison?
Yeah?
Just checking. Wasn't that like yesterday?
No, it's much better than yesterday. Yeah. All right, I'll go get into the car.
Okay.
Okay, I'm walking, so keep talking.
So can I convene the meeting and motion for approval of the agenda? Seek a motion for approval of the agenda?
One of us to.
Here. Okay. Any, all in favor? Okay. All right. And now adoption of the minutes. These were the minutes where we chose to raise the rates. I didn't see any discrepancies in the minutes when they were emailed to me. Did anybody else see any issues? So I'll seek them.
Just one very, very small thing.
Yeah.
There's no A in my name.
Oh,
Oh. So,
okay. Got that.
So it's H-E-T-H?
TH, that's right. Four-lettered word.
So absent that
Hey, you
small.
guys, you're fading off a bit.
Oh, we're just going through the minutes. Allison, can you hear us?
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
There was-
good.
Okay. So can I get a motion for approval of the minutes of the November 3rd meeting?
Since I wasn't here, I can
All right.
remember.
As amended. Yeah. And all in favor? Aye. All right, so we'll move right on to there's no public comments that I can see from any of the public. All right, so right on to the staff report. So the first is the letter from Judy. And we'll await Judy's return here. So just to let everybody know, this is Annette. Annette does our billing, all the water stuff. Hi Annette, I'm Jonathan. So she works with mostly the guys, the outside crew, and the billing and all the calls for, so. She's trying to push me out. Well, while we're waiting for Judy, can I just ask, in this past summer reporting period, were there any major overages in the KEB, LAC?
Need to work already in it.
I would have to look at it.
Okay, I can send you an email
there
as a
was-
follow-up.
Yeah.
I do recall there was one.
There was one, I know for sure.
Yeah, okay. But nothing extraordinary. The one was extraordinary, but that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
A few in blue water.
yeah.
I have to look at the sheet,
Okay,
yeah.
no worries, thank you. So Judy, we're on to you.
Oh,
We roll through the
see what happens when
agenda.
you leave the room for this agenda. I have sent you the, as part of the referral of this, it started out as one subdivision application, and it ended up being two subdivision applications, just because of the logistics and because it's kind of big and cumbersome, and I don't know how easy or complicated you found it, so,
I found it very straightforward.
good,
Yep.
okay.
Did, Don, Michael, did you?
Yes, more or less, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the only thing that I have here by way of a PowerPoint that, how does this work?
Button on the left.
Button on the other left. Oh, that button on the left. And then you do, okay, there we go. It's just a couple of the photos just to give an idea of the overall subdivision and the two phases of the two separate subdivision applications that Allard has submitted on behalf of his people. So it's about 100-acre property, and I'm sure you all know it intimately. I'm sure you all walked in and know it well. So the first phase would be this bit down in the corner that, so the first part of the subdivision would be these two lots that would have access off of Windjammer, the park which will be dedicated as parkland, plus the dedication of the road and the village residential area and an open space. And then beyond that, freehold lots up here as a basin that was what?
7 freehold lots.
7 freehold lots here, and then a couple of clusters of
5
strata, 5 and 20, and then a number of freehold lots in this area. So the two subdivisions, I think you probably want to give us some advice to them a little separately
Just to clarify then, is it that SB 06 2017 is in the lower left, is that right?
That's right. Oh, actually, yes, that's right.
Okay, and then 03.
03 is the bigger one. They
Okay.
really should be in reverse order, but the bigger one was the one we revised, so.
Okay.
So, yes, so this is the 06, which is just the, actually, they're in reverse order because 06 is the one that I gather you would like to proceed with most quickly. It's the most straightforward and just would have the 2 residential lots plus the village residential area. And then,
If you could just back up for a second, the village residential is the larger parcel here.
that's
right?
that larger parcel,
Yeah.
yeah. So that would be a total of 13 cottages plus a caretaker's residence with its full build out. And pass it over to Allard and Kevin to talk to you a little bit more about their phasing and how they intend to do that. Then this is, if you take out that chunk, this shows the whole area, but assume that
Within the
the
heavier
darker, the
lines.
heavier line is the revised 03. So that shows the fee simple lots up in the corner and the bigger chunks that are, and the fee simple down in the bottom, and then the 2 larger parcels, which are the parent parcels for the future strata plans. And then we have the 2 stratas, the 5-lot strata and the 20-lot strata. And then down below that one, you can see the freehold lots that would come off of Malcolm and partly internal. So, I mean, there's a lot of details that we still have to work out, but for the purposes of this committee, that's just the layout, and I think it would be best to turn it over to Allard and Kevin to.
Could you go back 2 slides to that one slide where we show all the free? Yeah, that's the one. So initially we came in with one subdivision application in a phased concept, and it was the incorrect pathway for us to achieve what we wanted to do. And so it came down to splitting it into two sort of parallel subdivision applications. The first one, not the first one, one of them is this parcel here. From a water perspective, we're asking for 2 lots to be connected to the existing infrastructure and to create opportunity here in the future for up to 13 cottages and the other infrastructure for the housing for the semi-assisted living and so forth, right? So at full build out, I think there's about 15 or 16 structures. To Bob's point the other day when we did the walkthrough, is that when we ask for these 2 connections to be made, we're asking for all the other upgrades to the infrastructure to fall on the back of the second subdivision to simplify the registration of this one. And so, to your point, to Bob's point, this requires more water than just these 2 lots, and we were thinking that maybe some sort of covenant that water would have to be proven before we could do more, but then liberate these 2 lots along with this first subdivision. So that's the one. The remainder, so first pass subdivision is we create these lots, fee simple lots, and then this is the remainder land. And then this triangle, 10 acres, belongs to Ian Stewart, Happy Soon, and they're currently in Bowen Bay. It's sort of, well, this is the King Edward Bay boundary, and they're outside of the King Edward Bay boundary. So we're making application to expand the boundary of King Edward Bay to include this 10-acre parcel.
I just have a quick of the current boundary, just so that's.
Yeah.
Mm.
And there's that extra parcel that's in Blue and Bowen Bay.
So why do you want to include them in the water boundary?
Well, because we're going to be sharing water from King Edward Bay into their lots, so we're going to be servicing their lots with King Edward Bay water.
It made more sense to treat the chunk of property as kind of as a whole, just in terms of, to some degree, access, some degree water, to some degree septic, not on all the lots in there.
But don't they get water now?
Yeah.
Bowen Bay?
No, but they have their own
Individual
wells.
wells.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those properties in that bottom triangle are have their own wells.
Yeah, well, there's 2 existing houses on this one
Mhm.
10-acre parcel.
Yeah.
And when we subdivide it into 4 plus our lot here, we'll end up with 5 different lots with existing wells still, but the proposal that, and then the engineering behind the proposal states that we'll be drilling new wells for new capacity in the King Edward Bay system.
Right.
Right, so water reservoirs, new water reservoirs, water flowing through the development and into these 5 lots, right? So for us, it made sense to expand the boundary to include those 5 lots.
Just to spread more real estate across the infrastructure, right?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, and in fact, I guess more dues.
Yeah.
And Allard, have you made that application to council yet? Have you-
No, I've asked, is there a form set for that?
I believe that you just write a letter asking council
To approve that?
do the inclusion, but,
So they're in the Bowen Bay boundary now, right?
Yeah.
So you would
Bob,
have,
are you going to talk about the extra money and so forth that they'll have to pay to join the boundary expansion?
well, that's, yeah, I'll talk to the King Edward Bay people now, and so,
Is that effectively allowing them to buy into KEB's boundary? Like the,
I suppose it's one way to look at it.
yeah.
So they would be treated as if they were not within a water district at all yet, even though they are? They don't get any credit for being in the Bowen Bay and essentially removing themselves from that district?
Yeah, that's, well, they would, because Bowen Bay has their own little pool of money and you guys have your pool of money. You're not gonna share that, right?
No. When you put it that way, no.
Sounds very neighborly.
Actually, Alan, I did have a question. You talked about, and I forgot the technical term for it, but a provable and adequate supply and establishing that that's the case. Are you going to do that before you do the 1 and 2, the 2 freehold lots on Windjammer? Yeah.
No,
Okay, so that will come later?
right, but we would suggest, and it was
So, yeah.
Bob suggesting that we covenant before we can expand, improve lot 3 here,
Okay.
that
The
we would have to
community
then, we would have to find more water,
I
right?
understand that's a pretty standard condition of any subdivision, isn't it?
So what I've asked for is, yeah, I don't have a problem with the 2 lots by themselves. If you try to build anything else, you're gonna have to prove water for the complete subdivision. And that's 1.5 times what they need. So it gives you, he could prove, like, if he was all by himself, he could just prove, you know, whatever it is per lot, and that's fine. But I asked for 1.5 because that gives you guys
some margin.
an extra margin.
Yeah.
So that, you know, both people sort of win then.
So my understanding of that is that we can drill a well on this other subdivision land, prove out the well, or we can drill a private well on this land with sufficient water to prove out
Just for that
just
block.
for that block.
Yeah.
Our preference is to go and drill this well here near the reservoir, which is where we're going to propose a chlorination control building, and then we have the well that's near the building.
Yeah.
which is just makes
But the
sense.
first 2 lots would be treated just like lots within KEB 1, right?
That's right.
They just buy in, when they actually complete construction, when they connect their water, they pay their connection fee,
Water
then they
meter.
pay their annual, yeah. It seems. entirely-
Just correction though, they don't pay a connection fee though, is that correct from what I was reading on the request?
Yeah,
That's waived in there.
it wasn't, yeah, in the document,
Okay, I'd like to
and
come back to that
that is a
later.
question that I have, is that with the second subdivision, that's when all the improvements will be taking place. With the first 2, they're just joining the system, so I know that there's an annual fee, but I don't know, I haven't seen anything about a buy-in fee, so I don't know.
Because,
So, Bob, Judy, it's Allison. Is there the upper King Edward Bay lands, except for the Stewarts, are in the King Edward Bay specified area or not?
yes, they are. But it's zoned as 1 lot now, correct?
Well, it's,
Just,
This, you're talking, I think Allison's
No, no.
talking about this property?
no, she's talking about all above King Edward Bay. That whole lot is based as 1 lot right now, correct?
it is one lot, it's zoned for 38 units,
Yeah.
but it's all, legally it's 1 lot.
It's 1 lot, yes.
And it is in the existing.
That's right.
Cambridge Bay
Yeah.
local service area.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Which is
that
why,
was part of the thought of why there wouldn't be a connection fee for those 2.
There was not a connection fee for new construction within KEB 1, though? Do we not charge a connection fee on,
There's a meter.
There's a meter, there's $1,500
Yeah.
to connect, but that's
that's the
basic.
fee I meant.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's paid
That's-
to the
that's-
DIM for the meter
Yeah.
and the installation.
And if it costs more,
Okay.
we charge more, like
Right.
if there's something.
Yeah, so that was the fee I was referring to, not the connection fee, like kind of an initial.
Not the buy-in
welcome to our-
fee.
Not a
Yeah.
buy-in fee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that was never contemplated that there would be a buy-in fee for KEB two, right?
No, because
Within
part
the
of it was
original.
already in
Exactly.
the local
Yeah.
service area.
So, and that's why I tried to say, yeah, I don't have a problem with that, you know, making more lots than the 38, but then you give us 1.5 times the amount
Just
of water.
prove that the resource
Yes.
exists. Yeah, that seems entirely fair.
Sorry, you said more than 38 lots?
Well, isn't there more than,
There's
Oh, I
38
see.
lots.
Plus the
So
new
what
people?
we're being asked to do is approve a new well
Okay,
at 1.5 times the use of those 38 lots, so that there's a surface for the system itself, not
Right.
just for those lots.
okay.
But it's the 38 lots plus the 13 cottages.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that.
And is the reservoir big enough?
well, there'd be another reservoir.
So there'd be a
There would
second
be additional
reservoir,
one, okay.
just because of the topography.
Okay, I saw something about you need one higher up.
Because that's
to
way up the
service,
hill, right?
yeah.
Otherwise you'd be pumping huge amounts of water uphill.
Yeah, so it's, we looked at, we didn't do the original engineering for phase one, but we were familiar with it, you know, when it was being built. The initial reservoir, there is a way to build it, you can extend it, that one wasn't really set up for that. The new fire underwriter study you've had done is kind of pointing to higher storage requirements. Whether that's sensible or not is a different question. But basically, we need to produce another reservoir because some of those lots are above the service zone, so there's
Yeah.
two ways to go about that. We could do a booster station with a hydropneumatic tanks and basically fire pumps that would draw from the existing reservoir and pump up either in a fire situation or domestic, or, you know, kind of a standard pump that would pump up to another reservoir, which then benefits everyone. So there'd be a PRV, so it doesn't blow up the pressure at the bottom,
But it is
now
connected to the other.
It is connected to
So
the
it
other
would all
tank.
be interconnected, much like we're connected to Blue Water for
Yeah.
sharing purposes.
So in the case of a fire, you know, you're not gonna run out at
Yeah.
an hour and a half, you're gonna have, you know, 2.5 hours worth of protection. So there is a bit of a benefit for that. As I said, the new fire underwriters is pushing for bigger storage volumes. I don't completely agree with that report, but it's out there now, so you have to kind of deal with it. And now, the existing lots were created under a different scenario,
Yeah.
so they are not subject to it, but it's another positive.
It's not quite like the connectivity between King
It'd
and
be
Blue
permanent.
Water because both reservoirs are King and reservoirs.
Right.
So it's not
Yeah.
sharing, it's not
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah.
I know we're into it now, but I'm not entirely clear on what it is that we are being asked to do. I mean, I'm really interested in the subdivision because they're going to be
That was
my
gonna be
neighbors,
my next
right?
question.
And I'm really keen to see what Alan and his people are going to do with it and watch it grow. But other than being excited about it, I mean, what is it that we do as an approving, an advisory committee?
We don't want to blindside you when you see a subdivision coming along and you're going,
They're
what's
taking
happening?
our water?
Yes.
Well, someone else already is, so it doesn't.
I think when a subdivision comes in, I do a referral to all of the interested agencies and parties, and certainly you're an interested party. And I think on the very back page of your agenda, there is the list of requests that the applicant has made in this regard. And I just would like to maybe go through each of them and make sure that you have a comfort level with them, that you're okay with those requests. And if you have any further comments or suggestions, then that's something that we will include when we're going through the review and approval of the subdivision.
Okay, good. That makes it clear.
Just to clarify that, we're not being asked to approve that at this time, right? Because the agenda is just to receive the staff reports.
Well, you're an advisory committee, so any advice you want to provide, we will take and we'll take into account.
Okay, that helps, yeah.
So, did you just want to go through these? And,
Please.
so the initial 2 lots fronting on Windjammer would be added to two. The right of the two wells on lot C being transferred, so.
Yeah, that was kind of put as a bit of a bookmark. I'm not sure if there's really an appetite for them.
Oh, the two down in the Bowen Bay thing?
The private wells right now,
No.
right?
You don't need that.
No.
Not if you're gonna approve water from,
Yeah.
that's just more piping and a lot more extra work.
So you're just
That's
saying
my
that
theory.
the initial two lots, there's just no problem to them being added to the system and subject to the metering connection and.
The two lots I don't have a
and
problem with,
okay.
it's the 13 cottages that there has to be additional water supply.
Would those wells be decommissioned? I mean, it'd be a funny situation having somebody in the water district who also had a private well.
Yeah,
It's not
I'm still
unusual-
confused
It's not
about-
unusual
It's
situation.
not unusual.
But,
Nothing's ever unusual with Bowen.
but I think it is good practice to decommission unused wells.
yeah.
Okay.
And
More curiosity than mandating it, yeah, okay.
Are these yours to decommission?
They will be, yeah.
Okay, I'll make a note of that. No point in transferring them then if they're going to be decommissioned.
It was basically kind of something that was put out there as a holding pattern while we work towards the rest of the subdivision.
Yeah. No, the reason I raise it is
Yeah.
because we're all sucking the water out of the same rock, right? Yeah, okay.
Now, you are drawing under the same aquifer. I'm not a hydrogeologist, so take whatever I'm saying with a grain of salt. You are drawing under the same reservoir, so the kind of the analogy of the different straws in the same drink is true. But your drawdown from each well is kind of pulling from sectors, basically cone-shaped sectors of your aquifer. So there is some benefit, and kind of the thought was that once the new well comes in, it'll be tied in with the other ones. It'll be okay, so this one's got X capacity, this has got 2X capacity, this has got 3X capacity, and they'll be told to turn on based on their capacity.
Okay, yeah, and it has to be provable supply anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's not, with that, when you do your provable water, you're gonna have, check the other two wells so they're not interfering with.
Yeah, it would have to be a monitoring. So in effect, even though you're getting, quote unquote, we're getting 50% more water, it will tend to actually work out better than that, in that the other wells get a chance to recover and that drawdown cone shrinks in. So you're, in the initial 48 hour, 72 hour, that's a test done, but over the course of time, it's better actually having 3 wells drawing from the same aquifer.
No, I get that, yes. Thank you.
So the consideration there for the 2 wells in Lot C is that because we're building roads to those lots anyway, laying a water line in there so that you can make use of those wells in the future is not necessarily a bad thing, but.
Yeah, I guess if something happened to the other wells,
Yeah.
a mild earthquake or something like that.
Right, yeah, and we did have an event a couple of years ago where we had a big blue water leak and it drew a cone and drawdown on that main well by the playground.
Allard, is it Allard that's speaking? Because I can't hear whoever it is that's talking.
I was just saying that it's not a bad idea to have those extra wells, and we did have an event a few years ago where the drawdown on one particular well, the well that's near the playground, there was a substantial drawdown, and so having extra wells in the system, even in reserve, is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So then do we keep the wells and hold them and review it in a couple of years to see?
Is that possible from an engineering perspective?
I think what would make sense.
I mean, if it is, it sounds like a good idea.
You know, part of the reason this is getting broken up is the engineer is too slow and isn't keeping up with the game plan. So we've got a fair bit of work to do still. Just like the thought process has been done, everything that's shown works, but you know, kind of this submission gets kind of doubled in size. And part of that process is we'll be doing a bit more studies. We're due to drill the well, do some well tests, see where we're at. And I think either at that point we make a recommendation to either decommission the wells, let's put a pipe in, keep the well as part of the system as a backup or a monitoring well, or the third option would be,
Okay.
let's leave them in
Okay, so
place and see what happens for the next X number of years.
My preference would be to have some redundancy if they allow it.
My sense would be the recommendation is gonna come out as B, is let's run the wells, we'll decide what to do with them, whether they're monitoring wells or basically backup wells that, you know, the good thing is, as you get more wells, you can have wells go down, now you've got two backups, right now you have two wells, if one goes down, you've got a backup, but you're kind of relying on it, which is fine short term, but if all of a sudden it's a 6 or an 8 month, that's not great that it's running all the time. It's not preferred. You know, it's been
Well,
tested.
in KEB, we drilled 3 wells, one of which was decommissioned because it was arsenic, was it? Or
Too sandy and dirty
sandy?
and, yeah.
Was it capped and fully decommissioned?
No,
No, it was just.
it's still there.
Okay,
I still have a pump sitting in it.
okay.
Just the one in the little house.
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
Which
But-
actually, maybe this is a bit irrelevant, but there is the well right in the middle of the new playground. And I would like to see some protection for that well. I mean, the kids are not gonna know that that's not a piece of playground equipment.
Oh, I was gonna buy a big fake rock and put over it. I looked at that when we were out on it.
Okay, so you're a step ahead of me then, great.
Yeah, no, thanks for reminding me though,
Allison, are
We're
you
not
still?
big on fake rocks, but better than nothing.
They look good, I know.
Allison, are you there?
I think she's possibly muted.
Maybe
Are
they're
you
loading.
muting or have you been disconnected?
Beep twice.
I'm on mute, I'm still here.
You're on mute,
Oh,
okay. Now let us know, info.
As usual. So, in terms of the subdivision then, I would think that by the time we get to final approval, I'll have a recommendation from you on how. the
How to
wells
deal with those
would be dealt with.
existing wells.
But those 2 existing wells, you're not gonna try to add into the 1.5.
Unless that's what the hydrogeologist recommends.
I don't like that.
Well, and, you know, at the end of the day, we still have to come back to that report.
Yeah,
Um,
because they are way, way away from everything else.
Yeah, we are gonna be running pipe in those trenches. You're thinking of it in terms of long-term maintenance?
Yeah, that's,
And my sense is the expectation is we wouldn't make them part of an operating, and then it's a decision whether you
Yeah.
use them as, you know.
Yeah, actually, where exactly are they on the map, do you know?
They're right in these 2, aren't they? Is it-
Yes.
Yeah, there's one down.
One near the road
and then there's
and
one right
in the middle
yeah.
of that lot. Okay.
And the
Did you see that, Allison?
and then, you know, sorry, if we take them over as operating, then we have to build a chlorination station, then we have to pump them all the way to a reservoir.
And I would envision that there'd be pumping from there to our new treatment pump house.
Way at the top, okay.
At the top of the reservoir, if that's what made sense.
Okay.
But I think we can kind of cross that road, and kind of the way we've come at this is looking to say, well, we're in the local area, other than 4 lots. You've got a healthy water system from what I can see of looking at your records, but recognizing that, well, if the water system wants to take these on, there's got to be a benefit to them. That benefit is going to be a benefit to all the users, whether that's in a water service area or water supply, upgrades to the system. You need some reason to come in. So we're basically bringing you more supply. We're bringing more users to help pay for the system. Costs will go up because now we're going to be running another well to be more consumption. But, you know, some of the costs are going to be the same as your current number of users or added.
Because I mean, insofar as we're an advisory committee, I mean, our position surely is that we don't want to impair the supply to all the existing users, nor do we want to increase the cost to the existing users. At least one of them is in the project,
sure.
so.
Well, and
You know.
and that's obviously helped in terms of putting
And
together.
and it sounds like you have the engineering that you can achieve that result.
Yeah, so we're looking at that. We're gonna make your supply more secure, more robust. We're gonna bring your costs down slightly.
Yeah, won't object to that.
And, you know, I've always kind of figured there has to be a reason you want to invite them to the party.
I guess in the fourth item is that because we're adding 38 more users, then the cost of the entire system is borne over 78 users as opposed to, you know.
Well, while we're talking about then the cost of buying in, so the 4 lots that would be removed from the Blue Water system and into this one would, what would be the situation for those lots? Would
They would, I would say, when you do a boundary expansion like that they would have to buy into the system. It's no different than, say, and what's really strange is all the water systems here have different prices. Cove Bay is
It's
$9,975.
Yeah.
So if you have a new lot that you want to join in, that's what it costs you. Hood
So
Point
Bob,
is,
they got that proposed boundary expansion, I think at maybe the meeting we had, the public information meeting we had, like a year or so ago, year and a half ago. And there was a number calculated for King Edward Bay, I think, on that spreadsheet, but I have no idea what it is.
I don't recall that number being calculated for us.
No, I don't.
was that Kristen that did all that?
Yeah, Kristen did that. It was the boundary expansion policy.
Okay,
So we've done for all the
Yeah,
water
so
systems.
we had 2 meetings. We had one meeting of all the water committee chairs, and then I think we just, maybe it was at the water committee chairs meetings, and then I think it was just an information document at the annual meeting that we had in 2016. Can't remember whose house we had that at.
yeah.
It was at Mike's. Allison, for some reason, the server is not connecting, but I can pop out and ask Shale to see if she
Yeah,
can send me
if you
that. Print it.
Because, and I think Hood Point is like $17,000 and Bowen Bay is $3,000, so it's all over the map. And
Depending on
And
the
it all
appreciated
depends on the
value.
cost of the infrastructure and everything.
That's right.
So,
I thought King Edward Bay was quite high.
it's easy for us to find out and send it out.
I'd be
to
very
everybody.
interested in that number, yeah, just,
Yeah, well, we'll send you the whole policy.
Okay,
But
great.
it's for boundary expansion, so that's why I was asking about the stewards,
That's
because
the one, isn't it?
to expand the boundary to include their lots, I don't know what the beep is that keeps coming there, but,
But it's
I heard
irritating.
my wife,
There might be a battery on that phone.
Yeah, could be.
Oh, could be,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Is this the?
yeah.
So one of the things normally that
Fully
we
charged.
see in boundary expansions is there's normally a fee, and that fee is partially to basically, almost like a DCC, development capital charge, where you're paying for the infrastructure that's already in place.
yeah, and
And that can either be done with cash, or if there's an element of the system that needs beefing up, often it's done with work in kind.
well, the way I see it is they're buying a percentage of an existing capital item.
That's
And
right.
We have a
And
value
yours
for that
is-
capital item.
And
of
yours is new, so yours is more expensive.
Yeah,
for
$1.4
obviously.
million is the
Just
number
trying to
I heard.
fund-
Yeah. Whoa, beeping away there.
Yeah, and I
1.4
guess
million?
that's why we originally proposed that we
That's
would bring on.
$3,000.
That's right, yeah. Donna's the one who did
Just
the
that we
math.
ran out of
Right?
cable.
Those are the numbers.
It was beeping, which is still.
So kind of
Is that-
in that model, we would be coming forward with 100% of the water that the additional lots needed. We're coming forward with more water than that. And
But
the
so you
question
can
is,
take that into
does-
account, but you are going to be using the reservoir, for example, and so, anyway, the math needs to be done, that's.
That's partly what's covered under item 4 here on the docs, is that right?
Okay, I found the policy. The net book value of the asset of cash on minus outstanding debt divided by number of properties included within the service area.
35,700. So did you get
Yeah.
$35,752?
Well, there's no schedule here. The schedule was in the discussion paper that Kristen,
Yeah, we have that in front of us now. I think.
Allison, are you talking about the schedule for voluntary financial contribution for each
no,
of the
I'm
systems?
talking about the local service area expansion policy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just go make copies.
But
for you.
if that was based on the current number of residential lots within the system, with the addition of the 38 new, would you redo the math on that? And
Yeah.
I think you'd have to do, because your denominator would change, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so you'd have to.
And then
redo
the
math
other
to
question
assess
would
the buy-in.
be, the Stewarts are coming in as one lot, or how many lots?
4.
4 lots.
Four. Yeah, so I would think you're expanding the boundary to include 4 new lots, so it would be 4 times whatever that number works out to be.
Okay. Well, we just need to do the calculation and work out what's fair.
Roughly.
And,
Yeah.
you know, as Kevin says, take into account the fact that you are providing additional supply at
Well,
the expense of the
infrastructure
developer.
too.
Yeah, so.
So the main consideration though, just to go back for today's meeting, is to understand that 2 will be connecting to the existing KEB system effectively immediately, or could be immediate, right? Is that what we're primarily considering today?
Yeah, and nothing else gets built until they prove water for
Exactly.
Yeah.
the additional stuff.
I mean, I think certainly that's good information to have if you're comfortable with that. And I think that's the subdivision that would be proceeding most quickly. But also, we do want to be moving along with the requirements for the second one as well. So
Which would be.
if there's additional work that needs to be done, we can certainly report back to you once we've done some of the arithmetic and
Yeah.
get back and
Thank
touch
you very
base
much.
again.
Okay, I found them. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful, even if it wasn't
Agenda.
final, to get a sense of it, because at some point, there's a dollar figure that makes sense, and there's a dollar figure that.
Now, the one question I have, when the upgrades are done, when the new wells are drilled, the upgrades are done, you have all the infrastructure in place, and we look to marry the systems, we won't be really marrying them, we're already married effectively.
Just a
child. You just had a parent die and a bunch of money's been done. But is there, or something like that, is there any, is there any fee gonna be placed on existing KEB water system